Good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to Coffee and Resales. My name's Ryan, and I buy and sell stuff. I buy stuff at thrift stores, yard sales, garage sales, and the like. Flip it online and try to make a few bucks. I specialize typically in toys and books, and that's what a bunch of today is about. Except for the most aggravating return I've ever gotten, I think. Actually, I'll start off with the bad news. So, and that would be a most aggravating return. This jacket. This is a polo jacket, extra large, denim, nice, extra large. Keep that in mind. And the dude said it didn't fit. I was like, he returned it. He said, my arms came halfway down the sleeve. It's an extra large. How do you not know if you're an extra large jacket? I know I'm an extra large jacket. This thing fits me great. I'd keep it if I needed it. I really like this coat. And I'm tempted, almost. It doesn't get cold enough down here except like 3 days out of the year for anything like this. But this is a nice polo jacket. It's got the neat flannel lining. And I put it back up, and I'm going to try to get another $150, $170 for this jacket. And someone's going to pay it. It's going to be good. So that's why I did the return on it, because I knew I could resell this thing and get a reasonable amount of money for it. Buyers. You got to have them. So, anyway. Next up, non-sales. And one of the biggest, coolest fantasy hauls I've had in a long time, and it's actually stuff I think that's going to sell, which we'll get into later about fantasy paperbacks. Because it's irritating. It's one of those things that should probably be worth more than they are, but because of reading and not as many collectors out there and such, and a few other factors. Anyway, let's start off. Okay, non-book items. We'll do non-book items first because they're right here and easier to do. Naruto. Boom! Naruto figure. This is actually still on the shelves in some places, I think. Like in Walmart and stuff. But this is a Bandai Namco Anime Heroes Shonen Jump Naruto Shippuden action figure. Like 6 inches or so. Which is great size. $7. I've had this up for a while. I got it, I think last summer. I got a big batch of action figures. Made my money back on them. But I still have a bunch to kind of sell and to trickle out. Now, it's one of those things like 3 to 5 years ago, maybe even pre-COVID, they would have sold a little faster, maybe a little more money. I've got a handful of Marvel Legends in it, and those still haven't moved. And I don't know. It's just interesting how the market's kind of dropped on some of these 6-inch figures, which is interesting because I like them. Anyway, $7, still make money on it. Next up is this. I bought this Vivitar S100 rotary slide tray. I got 4 of these in the box at the last chance Goodwill, which means I know I paid less than like $1 a piece for them because they're done by weight, and it wasn't much money, and I've sold all 4 of them in a span of about 3 weeks. $15 a piece. Nobody even tried to negotiate. It was, I guess I perfectly priced these things. This sold on a promoted listing. I do like 2.5%, give or take, and excuse me. Out of 9 sales, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sold on promoted listings, and that's at only 2.5%. I don't raise it up much, but I'm trying to be a little above the minimum, and that seems to work okay for me. So, yeah, people poo-poo promoted listings sometimes. Sometimes they work. So how it goes. Anyway, $15. Shipped. Yeah, I do free shipping, by the way. I think small sellers, it benefits you more a little sometimes because it helps with the algorithm. And you gotta play the algorithm. All right, next up, Man from Uncle. That vintage series. It's before my time, but they had a lot of paperbacks. These went for $10 for these two. Don't know I'm making a ton of money on these. They're it's one of those, if you get all of them or almost all of them at like $1 a piece or less, it's worth grabbing because you can probably do okay then. But when selling them piecemeal, folks don't typically grab them unless they can get almost all of them all at once. So, Man from Uncle. These took a while. These took way too long. So, but it's one of those things. It's like, ooh, I see that for 50 cents. I gotta grab those to resell. And then they said, and it's annoying. But anyway, this one is fun. I grew up in a very specific large religious tradition, and sort of an in-between period between this sort of old school, old style Baptist revivalism before the modern changes and that sort of thing. Not poo-pooing it. It's really what it is. And so this rang a really fun bell with me. It's Papal Tearing Gospel Illustrations, number 3. And what it is when doing a gospel presentation, you take a piece of paper and you can tell a story and rip or cut the paper in very specific ways and come up with certain shapes to help tell a story. A cross. It looks like there's a ladder here, a heart, that sort of thing. And this is instructions on how to do that. And this is a fun book. A really interesting. I flipped through it and it's a really interesting read. It's almost historically important as to cultural and religious traditions of the South, and sort of an Americana feel. So it went for $8. I thought it was going to go for a bunch more, but I think this only really, this is one of those things like the right person might have paid $20 for it, and that person ain't on eBay. So that's what that went for. That was a neat find. I think I got it for like a dime or 50 cents or something. That is one of those I had to. I see. If you see if you look at this, it's more of like a pamphlet. This stuff is worth picking up. Religious material that is sort of self-produced, self-published for 50 cents a piece or less. Grab it. You can lot it up sometimes and sell it pretty well. You get the right preacher or the right topic. I got one that was a dude, like he did a couple sermons on like aliens and some really weird stuff, and that thing sold for like $60. And there are certain preachers that still get kind of collected. Particularly in the Pentecostal realm, there's certain preachers and certain ones that still get picked up because they want to read and study those preachers and what they had. That came out of the Pentecostal movement, and that's some of the only way you can get that material. And I tripped over some of it one time at really cheap prices and made a little money on it, and got it in the hands of guys who probably use it. So there you go. All right, next up, this I put in the heresy box, because it's not just like Catholic; it's like super duper wacky Catholic. But this is St. Teresa of Avila Collected Works. So, first woman doctor of the church. So, this went for $11. So, and I didn't pay more than $1 for it. So, grabbed it, picked it up, sold it. There you go. Next is... What are we going to do next? So I got my hands on. This came out last week. Somebody recently, and I'm gonna be interested to see what shows up today. There was a big sci-fi fantasy dump at the Goodwill over the past week or so, and they got laid out, and then we'll get into that later. This came out of that. A big handful of Wheel of Time books. I think I got 4 or 5 of these. This is Crown of Swords, First edition, 18 bucks. I got them all priced in that range. They'll all probably sell between 12 and 15 at minimum. So there you go. I always pick up Wheel of Time books unless they're like completely trashed, and they will sell. Next up, what is this one? This one sold, I think, actually late Friday. This was out of the same thing. This is a Dragonlance Minotaur Wars. This went for 11 bucks. The Dragonlance hardcovers that aren't Drizzt books by R.A. Salvatore are almost always worth picking up without even looking up. I tend to leave the Salvatore books on the shelf and let them ride until they go to half price, and then I'll grab them. If not, it's no great loss, but those lot up okay, but at my Goodwill, they're $2 a piece, and I'm not going to make any money. If I can get them for $1 a piece or less, I'll grab them. But this one went for 11, so there you go. Next up, I don't know if this is final or not. I think this may be the last bit. This is the Hussite Trilogy by Andrzej Szugowski. This is the dude who wrote The Witcher. This is the Hussite Trilogy, the big paperbacks. And those went for 18 bucks for these three. Buck piece, bought them. Good little find there. Actually, a little surprised these didn't sell a little faster. I got them in the fall. And those flipped. And finally, they sold almost overnight. And I sold a bunch of these. Last 2 weeks, I got a bunch of Dresden Files books. And I sold all of them in a really short period of time. And this was, 20 bucks for 5 books. So all those sold fast. I think I've moved about 20 Dresden Files books over the past 2 weeks, and bought them like 3 weeks ago. So Dresden Files books, $3 to $5 a piece, easy and a lot. So grab them when you see them. Okay, that's my sales. It's pretty decent. Nothing, explodey price wise, bread and butter. But that's how you make your money, is you trickle along, then you hit home run. That's pay your bills with the bread and butter and go to Vegas on the big stuff. I'm not going to Vegas. All right. Some good finds. Where am I finding? Where are we going to start? Okay, start with one thing. I may need to stop picking up comic books because they don't seem to sell well, but sometimes can't help yourself. Walking Dead set, at least 50 cents a piece. Hopefully 3 to 5 a piece on eBay, and we'll see how those ride. It's not like a complete set or anything. It's like 6 through 10, something like that of that batch. So, pretty good find there. Next up, I don't really quite know how these are going to do. I may need to pick up that one to make. Timely. No. Out of that batch, some David Eddings books. I like David Eddings, but his books, if you're into fantasy, his books are good. Good reads, but they don't make a bunch of money when trying to sell them. I'm going to try a lot of them up, but I don't know that I'm going to get. I got a big handful of paperbacks here as well, but I don't know that a bunch of them are gonna move. But I'm gonna try them, and we're gonna see if somebody has the same opinion or needs to fill a hole. Okay, I think I spent about $60 on 50 plus books at Goodwill Saturday. Went by Saturday with my kids, just looking around at stuff. And it was a big fantasy dump with a bunch of good stuff. Wheel of Time, just one Wheel of Time paperback, but I wonder if any more aren't going to show up. A bunch of John Norman Gore books, which are, Read with discretion. That's an adult read right there. But the Gore books do tend to go 3 to 5 a piece minimum in lots, and I've sold some for $12 to $15 paperback. Not a lot of, we'll get into that. Not a lot of fantasy paperbacks go that high, but that's some that do. The Jaws, I didn't realize this wasn't Jaws. This is the Jaws log. I'm going to have to look this one up. The Jaws log. The Jaws paperbacks, first editions do well. The early edition Jaws paperbacks. These do okay. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Most of these, I think, are going to be $3 to $5, but I'm in a couple of Facebook groups that would probably appreciate these a little bit more than necessarily find. I could sell them at a reasonable price on a Facebook group and not have to deal with some of the eBay headaches and the eBay fees and that sort of thing. I can sell them at 50 to 75% of what I could sell them for on eBay, but because of the fees and such, you come out about the same if you do like PayPal. Love always finding these. This cover, this style, and older Lord of the Rings books, $10 to $15 a piece. Sometimes this one's in okay shape. So, and the older the better on these. I need to see if I have any more, because I always grab them and try to make sets out of them, but I don't know if I have those. And this is another thing that made me excited was I collect Conan the Barbarian books, and this was probably the best haul I've ever seen. I got about 10 of them. I got 10 to 12 Conan the Barbarian books, went through my collection, swapped out the ones that were better, and there was a recent post on one of the Facebook groups I'm on a pulp and fantasy collectors group, $5 a piece for Conan books. And I've got some Tarzan books I'm going to throw on that lot, and a few others. I'm going to make a big lot of vintage, of not just these, but a bunch of the other stuff I found, and try to get it moved. And I need to get some stuff shifted out and shifted around. But it was real neat find. Really kind of happy on it. I hadn't seen this before. This was interesting. Trade paperback Wheel of Time book. So I don't know that I've seen that before, but neat to find, and pretty sure it'll sell. So I'm wondering if that's not a little more rare. Let's see. Yep, more Gore stuff. So handful of Michael Moorcock books. I've recently read some of his stuff. I think I prefer a little more raw sword than the raw sorcery stuff. So I've just read some his Elric of Melnibone books, and they're fine if they're well written for that genre, but they're a little too. I think I prefer more human than elvish stuff, and they're a little more elvish feel to them. And of course, I may be reading them wrong too, so I don't know. But anyway, good haul today. Happy with what I got. Happy with what I sold. I'll be happier when I can move some of this stuff out and make some more room. I've been slack on what I've been wanting to do along those lines. So that's the deal. And I've got to order some more packaging. I got to get, can't tell, my stack of Bow Millers is running out real quick. And so I need to order some more and get some more in, and so I can package more stuff as it sells. So good week, good weekend. Actually, last week was really slow. Like Wednesday through Friday, I didn't post anything. I didn't record anything. I had like 1 or 2 sales a day and nothing to really write home about. Just moving a few things here and there at a time. But I was happy to be able to jump on and show you all some stuff that I managed to pick up. So happy hunting out there. Hope you get some of your own stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. If there's some fantasy or sci-fi books that you find sell well individually or lotted up, post it down below. If there's anything you're looking for, post it down below, because I got some stuff that I'm looking to move and looking to move it cheap. And you may look out and I may have something you need to fill a hole in the collection. So, or we can always look for each other. So, y'all be good. Happy hunting.